Appreciate you guys doing something for me. I definitely do. Oh, look, I got red and white paper. Yay! Are you serious? Oh my gosh! Oh, Stacy! Yes! 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 Oh, thank you so much!
Let's come out of there. Dolly doesn't seem to be bothered at all. Dolly, Christmas, make it a serious Longhorn Lester video, sweetie. Oh no, oh no. And that is exactly why I come out to do some work in my loading system. Okay, well that's not cool. And there goes our calf. Christmas, sheesh. All right, so I do have one calf still pinned in a stall. And I think that we'll be okay with that one there. This one over here has gotten spooked though. And that's kind of a problem. Whenever they get spooked, that could leave them in kind of a weird place for the rest of the day. And I may have to go ahead and wait till tomorrow to do this. I'm gonna try to draw them back inside. But you can see that mom's trying to push her away, saying, you know what, this is not safe for us, Loretta, and we're just gonna walk away. And sure enough, mom has Loretta walking the other direction, even though there's food still here in the barn. So that was my mess up. What I should have done is come out and did all of my work first and got all of my panels put into place, knowing that calves are gonna, looky here, this is gonna be bad. Yeah, my barn was not set up to move calves. It was moved to move cows. And we've done, there we go. We've done really good with our calves. Tex, let her through. There you go, there you have it. Oh, and there you have it. And there you have it. Good morning, folks. Lester here, and I want to say thank you for joining me this morning. Lunch with Longhorn Lester. How crazy is that, huh? I'm so blessed to have you as a part of our social media family, that you take time out of your day to join me. And it's been a really neat year. It's been a very busy year for both Jamie and myself. And I know it's been busy for you as well. So for you to find time on your Friday to sit with me during the lunch hour and hang out a little bit, I really appreciate that. What you saw right there at the beginning, I played a couple of little short videos, and I know I'm a minute early, y'all. I'm a minute early, but hey, everybody, I should probably take time to say hello to you all first. Good morning. Yeah, I'm still toting a little spoon there in my hat. I'm not gonna That's gonna stick around for a while, I'm afraid. But it is what it is. Hey, I could be called worse, okay? I could be called worse. I already turned my phone off, so I shouldn't be bothered by that. Mr. Kenny is outside. He's making a video with the littles, which is fine. So if you hear the dogs barking a little bit, that's just Mr. Kenny out there snooping around, doing his thing. And I am feeling better. For those of you who knew that I'd been under the weather, yeah, Jamie had gotten sick first, and then well, not first. Actually, Megan had gotten sick in Mexico, and the morning that we came back from our little 3-day getaway, Megan was not feeling well. But then, of course, Ellie got it, and then Jamie got it, and then lo and behold, if Lester doesn't get it as well. But it was only a kind of a 2-day thing. You've heard of the 24-hour bug. Well, ours was more of a 48-hour bug. And so it was, yeah. So if you're saying Ellie is sick now, just know that the videos that you see today were probably not recorded today. A lot of people don't understand that, or you forget that. Most videos that you see from, okay, whoo, I do not want to start off with controversy already. And so I got to be real careful what I say. I'm just going to say it the way it is. There's different types of video creators. You have some video creators that like to present a video presentation that has been edited, that has a lot of the fluffy stuff kind of cut out of it, where you get right to the gist. They will sometimes take and edit out things they say that didn't come out right, or flip-flubs. And other creators will just upload and record whatever they got, and here you go. Take it if you want it, leave it if you don't. And so I'm not saying which is right and which is wrong, but just know that most videos that you see from most video creators, long video creators, are edited videos. That means they don't record and upload immediately. They take their videos back and they will edit. They will, make sure they reduce the wind noise. They will put on a stabilization filter if it's too shaky. And there's things that you do to make sure that your production is one that you're very proud of and that people will receive without having to deal with all the wind noise or without having to deal with the flip-flubs and whatnot. There's other video creators that I don't want to say it's complacency. I don't want to say anything negative, but there's other creators that don't have time for all that. They want to go out there and just take their phone, record something, find a Wi-Fi, upload it, and there. I'm done for the day. What you see is what you get. And so there's a, believe it or not, there's a place for all of those. There's a place for all of those, but we're still on the mindset of offering you a production. And so we want that production to be one that we can be proud of and that you can be proud of. And if anyone new comes along, they can also be proud of, wow, this is a very well put together video. They included a little bit of music, some drama. They played around with the order a little bit, maybe gave it kind of an intro, a lead in. And all of those things I learned from being a school teacher. But I get it, y'all. It's not so much old school versus new generation, I don't think. It's just your vision for how you want your channel to look and how you want your page to look. And everyone's vision is different. And so I'm not trying to knock those that just throw out anything, but I will say that those that are giving you anything, short videos, unedited, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, they can pop out videos. They can push out a lot of videos in a day's time. And so it's a quantity versus quality, in my opinion. Boy, Lester, I didn't say any names. I did not say any names. Just know that if you, boy, is it hard trying to pick and choose my words here, because this can get pretty. Just know that, oh my God, I'm just going to stop talking about it. I am going to stop talking about it. It doesn't matter. Hey, listen, I do have a question for you all, though. I do have a question for you all. What is the difference, or is there a difference between a surrendered animal and a rescue? Or can we group those all together? Somebody has an animal and they're not able to adequately afford that animal. They can't adequately care for that animal. They can't provide vet care. They can't feed it, maybe. They don't have the right grass to allow it to live there. They don't have the right setup. Is that considered a rescue when someone can't properly or adequately take care of that animal and they offer it up for you? Is that considered a rescue? This is very important that I know this. So I'm reading over here that there's no difference. So you're saying that is still a rescue, correct? I just want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. So you do consider animals that are surrendered to you in the same category as a rescue. I just want to make sure. So in saying so, not every rescue is at death's doorstop. It's not sitting there at death's doorstop the way some rescues are. They actually might be animals that are fine, but their owners for some reason could not adequately take care of them. So, okay, so fine. All right, in saying so, guys, we have a lot of things to talk about. I'm going to ask you to help me out for a moment, and I need you to put on your thinking caps. This morning, I asked both Ellie and Jamie for help. Now, both are traveling. Both are on the road today, and I know that they're busy. Neither one got back to me yet. But I'm trying to figure out if you can help me by listing the animals at any of the 3 properties. That would be I'm a Survivor, Longhorn Lester's, and J&L Ranch. If you could help me and list out the animals that you would consider to be rescues and surrenders. And if y'all could do that, it will be very, very greatly appreciated, because I cannot remember what I had for lunch yesterday. I know for a fact I don't remember what I had. And so I'm just asking you all, thank you. So here comes some names. So here comes a lot of names. And that's what I need to see. Now, remember, I'm working with StreamYard today. StreamYard is a really neat app that we pay for that will allow us to bring all of our channels into one platform. So as of right now, I'm recording from one device, my laptop, and able to bring you all together. And that makes it a lot easier on me, and it allows us to all participate. Even though the downfall is you're on your device, you're not able to read all the comments that I am. I'm able to read comments from all 4 of the channels, not just the one that I'm watching. So thank you. There's tons. So here's what I'm saying. Okay, so a lot of you guys are listing both past and present, and I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. That's great. And that happened so fast, y'all. You guys just went to it. So yeah, so let's take Rita, for example. Rita, she was obviously surrendered. Her owner literally brought her to our gate, tied her up with a note, and said, help, help. So we're wondering, so would you call Rita a rescue? Does she fit in the category of rescue? And I also would think that she does, because you're asked to rescue her from a situation. You don't know the situation. Not everyone tells you the situation, but I would agree with that. Okay, thank you. You are so kind. So thank you so very much. Okay, so then in saying so, there's something that I want to start doing in the new year. And here we are at the end of the year 2023, which has been a wonderful year. But every year, I think that Jamie and I have always tried to sit down and think about what we're going to do for the upcoming year. And guys, I promise I will read every single one of your questions. But right now, let me talk to you as a friend. So right now, I'm talking to you as a friend. And I'm not going to be answering any questions right now. I'm going to actually stop looking over there, and I just want to chit chat with you for a minute. We're sitting somewhere. Okay, let's just put this into you and I are sitting at a cafe, an outdoor cafe. It's chilly weather, but man, it's gorgeous. I am drinking me a little mixed drink, and you have your coffee or your iced tea. Or if you're in the UK, you have one of those little cups of tea, or those little cups of tea that you do. And I don't care you can drink whatever you want to drink. All right, you don't take away from me. I'm not going to take away from you. Okay. Now, but we're chit-chatting, right? And I want to talk, and you want to find out what my plans are for the 2024 year. All right. Okay. Oh boy, I'm a little bit nervous about talking about this, because I don't know exactly how you all are going to take it. So allow me to tell you my vision for the 2024 year. But I want to start by talking a little bit about how difficult 2023 was for me, especially. Not so much Jamie, but for me. 2023 was the hardest year that I've had when it comes to creating videos. And I'll tell you why. Because I began to find myself in uncharted territory. It wasn't the time, the time of working at Longhorn Lester's. I'm a Survivor. And then towards the end of the year, the new property. Yes, it does keep me moving. And so I do spend an hour or so, 2 hours a day in the car, in the truck. But that's not the problem. I've always been used to driving. But what I feel like my problem has been is trying to keep the pages separated. instead of having both channels, I'm a Survivor, Longhorn Lester's, all run into one. And this is what I feel like my channel looks like. I feel like it's just, this is how it is. This looks weird to you. This feels weird to me, but I feel like both I'm a Survivor and Longhorn Lester's is like this. They're so intermingled and so intertwined, and no one can figure out what is what. I'm guilty. It's my own fault. It's my own fault because I never really differentiated between what is I'm a Survivor Sanctuary and what is Longhorn Lester's. And so that's what I want to do in the new year. I want to make a definitive separation of what each channel is going to look like. And so hear me out. Here we go. I jotted it down so I wouldn't forget. We can no longer think about I'm a Survivor Sanctuary as a location, because in fact, the animals that are rescues, the animals that have been surrendered or that are rescues, they really are mixed and mingled amongst all three of the properties that Jamie and I manage and take care of. Think about that for a minute. So what we were doing before is trying to drive over to I'm a Survivor to make a video for that particular channel, even though some of those animals that should have been included in that channel are at Longhorn Lester's, like Ringo, like Carl, like a lot of the dogs, the rescue dogs, and there's just name them. And then you also have now at the new property with little Gary, he is absolutely a rescue, y'all. He's a rescue, and we're not going to start a brand new channel called J&L Ranch. That's ridiculous. That's not working for us. Having too many channels is not a good thing. It's actually creating more of a divide. So what we want to do is, this is real simple, and I'm curious about your thoughts on it. I want to refocus the 2024 year. I want to start on New Year's Day and refocus that channel, I'm a Survivor Sanctuary, that has almost 1.8 million followers on Facebook and 225 followers on YouTube. I want to create I'm going to recreate I'm a Survivor Sanctuary and only get back to talking about and telling rescued animal stories. Animals from the past. Petunia is one that comes to mind. Animals in the present. Rita, Pig Trudy, you name it, little Gary. And so what I'm going to try to do is on that channel, which is how we got our name in all of this social media, y'all. That was the channel that started it all. And it's unfortunate that I've allowed it to kind of get so disoriented that now no one really knows the direction of I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. Cornholio, thank you. There are so many amazing animals that are on all three properties that really do belong to be clustered into the stories of rescued animals. And so what we're going to do is try to go by and make the channel focused on the daily lives, the in and outs, the ups and downs, the past, their history, their current situation, anything that's going on with those rescued animals who make up I'm a Survivor Sanctuary, even though they may be mixed and jumbled amongst all three properties. So does that make any sense to y'all? Does that make any sense to you all whatsoever, what I would like to do? And does that make any sense of, can we find a way to grasp that anything coming out of I'm a Survivor Sanctuary is not so much the location of where it was recorded, but it's the animals that will be focused in that particular video. So a lot of people are saying, that sounds good, Lester. Yeah, that sounds good. So Jamie and I were doing some talking, and we feel like there's an easy 35 or 40 animals if we're including the surrenders 35 to 40 animals in that I'm a Survivor Sanctuary current cast of characters. The current cast of characters, there's quite a few, and which is an amazing amount of content, which gives us 30 to 45 characters that we can talk about and focus on a day-by-day video for everything from their daily routine to their vet care to the in and outs, the ups and downs that they go through. Now, let's not forget, we have a memorial garden that also is the final resting place of a lot of our babies, those who have already crossed the Rainbow Bridge. Amazing stories that we have archived videos of that were very powerful. The Journey, the Petunia, guys, just to name a couple, some really amazing animals that have passed and are no longer with us that still have amazing stories. We want to remind people that I'm a Survivor Sanctuary is the home to over 2 million survivors. Now, meaning you and I. It's also the home to lots of our animals who have overcome adversity in the different forms of abuse and neglect. It's going to become a channel of happiness and love and joy. It's going to be a channel where you will always leave with a warm feeling of hope and encouragement. It's going to be a channel that we're going to turn around and refocus back on those animals that made us who we are. There. I hope, okay, Wendy says, perfect idea, Lester. All right, well, Wendy, I appreciate you saying that. And we're going to do that. So be prepared, starting with our New Year's Day video that I'm a Survivor Sanctuary is going to take kind of a different angle. And it's only going to be focused on those particular animals that created us and made us who we are. I mean, think about it. It has a channel full of characters, and I call them characters, our babies, who've overcome tremendous odds. When you think about the story of Ivy and Imogene, the namesake. And so we will go through there, and that's my plan, is to try to refocus and reshape the channel. I think that what you have to do, and if you're smart, and you have to sometimes reevaluate, or you can call it the state of the union if you choose to, reevaluate where you're at and what your goals are and where you're going. And I will say that I am guilty of getting sloppy and not being very careful and just allowing any video to play on any channel just to make sure that I meet my quota. And it's always been my thing to give you a video a day, every day. So no one ever has to wake up and wonder, will they post a video today? Well, for the last 5 years, there's been a video waiting for you when you wake up. And then we've also tried to include afternoon videos for those folks that are afternoon YouTube or Facebook watchers. And now you're going to say, okay, so Lester, so fine. I completely understand. I agree. I like the idea of where I'm a Survivor Sanctuary is going with you having a refocus on your rescued or your surrendered animals, both past and present. So can I get a yes to that? Can I just see with my own eyes that you're all saying yes to that idea? Okay, so ultimately, I am seeing a lot of yeses. And so, okay, so we are good on that. So now I'm going to ask for your help in something. When this happens, and it will happen on New Year's Day, I'm going to go by on my New Year's Eve video and do a year in review, focusing only on those animals that are a part of our rescues and kind of catch everybody up. And then starting New Year's Day, we're going to have a big to-do of it's kind of like a revival, y'all. We're going to have a revival. Is that what they call it? A revival is when everyone comes back. What do they call it? Revival. We're going to have us a revival of I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. Listen to me. It's too wonderful of a channel. It has been too much work and there's too many amazing babies that are not being noticed and recognized and talked about and loved on. It's become a channel that's too opinionated on things that should not even be open to discussion. And so we're going to refocus our attention and our energy on I'm a Survivor, not the location of, but the concept of a forever home to those who've been abused, abandoned, neglected, those who have overcome horrendous things in life. And that would include you and me and all of us human and animal survivors. It is a community of survivors. It's a community of people who've undergone and overcome, or even those who are battling with a tough time now. I'm going to work my tail off and make a really powerful, if I can, and inspirational video that will play on the 1st. And then we're going to also ask to have that video boosted, which is something you can do through Facebook. They're going to introduce that particular video to a whole lot of new people. We're going to pick out the demographics of those people. We'll have to pay for that. But what we're going to try to do is bring in lots of folks that maybe have never heard of our channel. And we're going to ask you all to be the ambassadors of that channel. Make sure if someone shares a story or shares an idea or shares their, especially if they have their personal testimony, that you are kind and loving to them and welcoming. Let's change the culture together. Let's go ahead and change the culture of a dying channel. I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. It's come too far and it's been too amazing a channel to just slowly wither away and die. And like I said, I had to take a deep look at myself, a hard look at myself, and realize that it's my own fault for trying to water down the content just to make sure that I had enough videos to play for any particular day. All right. I'm overcoming a 44-year-old drunk son who lives with me. Elaine, that is right now a situation that you're going through. I have no idea how that feels, but I can promise you, Miss Elaine, that there's people in the comments that do. They have probably been there with addiction. They've been there with a son or a daughter or a husband, or maybe themselves who've had a demon of their own. And so that's the kind of stuff that we can talk about and feel open and free without persecution, without anyone judging and pointing fingers. It will be a judgment-free zone. And I will guarantee you that my focus on that channel will only be to tell stories the way I see it. And it will stay matter-of-factly based on what we're able to do, what we can't do, what we would like to do. And I really am excited about the new direction of I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. Like I said, we cannot put it to be a particular location. It cannot be just the animals at that Plum Grove property, because those animals have been shifted and moved around based on where they can find their best life. And so that way, when you go onto any I'm a Survivor video starting at the new year, it could be at any of the properties, but it will be focused on a particular rescued animal. All righty? Everyone okay with that? And so what my plan is for the entire month of January, to introduce all new visitors to our channel to the animals and the stories that they have told and that they have taught, the lessons they've taught us. And we'll go through all of that, a reunion. It sounds lovely, says somebody. Lots of thumbs up. I do feel like everyone is on board. I don't really think that anyone would have a problem with it. I think it would help make the channel stronger in the fact that it's going to be a channel about the community of survivors, which we are. Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that a lot of folks are down with that. Okay, so you're saying, okay, well, wait, whoa. So if you're going to take one channel and only focus on the rescues and the survivors, where does that leave Longhorn Lester's? Where does that leave Suits to Boots? Well, that's easy. Longhorn Lester's in my mind, now this is just me thinking out loud, is going to be sort of the day-to-day operations with things that are going on with me in my life, which is going to always include animals. There are tons of animals that I work with every single day, things I do things with that are not always the rescues, but they'll be part of the Longhorn Lester channel. And I want to say one last thing. If any channel is to suffer because of this, let it be the Longhorn Lester channel. Let it be my backup channel, my other channel. Let's not continue to allow I'm a Survivor Sanctuary to struggle and suffer because we all get caught up in what's going on at Longhorn Lester's. So I appreciate that. Longhorn Lester's is kind of new. It's kind of exciting. There's a lot of things always happening. And so by all means, I will continue to record those kind of things. But just so you know, there's a big day coming, and we're going to, the same way you make your own resolutions, Jamie and I are going to resolve to make sure that we can differentiate between what is I'm a Survivor, what is Longhorn Lester's, what is From Suits to Boots. And I hope that you guys feel that that's a good move. At least the idea of it is a good move. We will see how that goes. But listen, there's too many animals that are getting overlooked because they get lost in the day-to-day operations. And they're animals with stories to be told. Here at Longhorn Lester's, for example, think about Tilly. We don't talk about Tilly enough, y'all. We have Ringo. We have Carl. There are so many babies here that we just don't ever focus as much attention on. We have our big galoot Brady, the little goat, and then the dogs. Oh my God, Christmas and Stella and Sadie, such wonderful animals and what they contribute to us as a farm and as a family. And they just don't get talked about enough. Thank you, someone. Someone says you should revisit with Moo. Absolutely. With Jake's permission, I will revisit with Moo because I also feel like Moo has been lost in all of the shuffle of all of the new animals being brought in. I don't think that Moo gets near enough attention for the amazing fella that he is. And then, of course, my dad, there's y'all, but I really can't control what other channels do and how they run their operations. And I don't want to step on any toes by all means. But yes, so we're going to do that. So if you take anything away from Lunch with Longhorn Lester Live, just know that there's a big shift coming. My New Year's Eve videos on both of my channels, Longhorn Lester's and I'm a Survivor, will be a recap of big moments of the year from the channels. But starting New Year's Day, we're going to have a boost, and we're going to try to find our way back into your hearts and into your homes, into your phones with the I'm a Survivor channel, because it is, as we say here today, it is a dying channel, and it's come too far, y'all. Like I said, 2 million people strong when you take the Facebook and the YouTube audience, and 2 million people at some point in the last 5 years have found a way to find comfort and peace and hope and inspiration in a channel. And if Jamie and I are both not sitting here watching our personal channels grow, yet watching what made us who we are slowly slip away. And so we're going to try to reinvest in that channel, bring it back to life. And if you're behind us on that, I appreciate your support and your love. Let's make sure that any new members who want to take time to share their stories in the comments, we're supportive of them. We love them. We read their messages and we hear them, because that's all a lot of folks need. Is that it's so therapeutic just to know you're being heard. How many times do you have something on your mind, something you want to talk about, something that's bothering you, and you have no one to go to with it? You have no listening ear. And so I'm a Survivor Sanctuary has to be a place where we can all become listening ears, where we can help and we can heal. And there's powers in numbers. There's power in prayer with numbers. And so let's really get back to the roots on I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. Okay, I will stop talking about that, and then we'll move on to, I think, what has become the biggest question. Whoo-wee. The mysterious car parked over at the J&L property. Guys, I don't know how you feel about this, but I sometimes worry about asking too many questions. I think that sometimes you're safer not to ask too many questions. How many times have y'all seen movies? It's kind of funny where someone asks a question and they're like, I could tell you, but I'll have to kill you. Well, because it's classified, right? So I sometimes think that as much as you want to do your part and you want to be vigilant and you want to make sure that you're doing your part to help keep the world a safer place, sometimes asking too many questions can put you in personal danger. And that's kind of just what Jamie has done. She did not like the way I handled the mysterious car situation sitting over at the other property. So, if case this is the first time you're hearing about this, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened. Now, this goes back, I'm going to just say 2 weeks to make an easy number. I'll go back 2 weeks to I pulled up to the property one afternoon and there was a car sitting in the driveway. It was not in my way. It was pulled over in the grass. It was backed up and parked over there. Obviously, it was parked. It wasn't towed or it wasn't pushed. It was parked. And I was nervous about who it might be at first, but when I pulled up to it, I saw it was a very clean car. It had been detailed. It was clean. It was, I got out of my truck and looked in the windows, make sure there was no one in there sleeping or drunk or passed out or anything else. I did see the front seat was immaculately cleaned. The back seat had a lot of clothes that had been folded. They were in hampers or in baskets. And okay, so I wasn't too alarmed. I didn't think much about it. I went ahead and pulled on up to the property and did all of my chores. I left out of that day and I never thought anything else about it. I did make a video for you all just to say, hey, there's a weird car. And then, of course, in typical YouTuber, Facebook video creator fashion, you make the thumbnail a little bit dramatic just to kind of draw attention into your channel. And so I says, who's this car stalking the new ranch property? That was just kind of an attention grab. They call that something. They call that, there's a name that they call that, y'all, when you try to get someone to clickbait. They call it clickbait. They call that clickbait, trying to get you to look and to watch and to, hopefully that you'll become invested in the video. Okay, so it wasn't until a couple of days later that I recorded the second video where I had shown back up to the property and the car was still there. At that point, I knew it was, now I was a bit more concerned. And that's when I would say that I don't want to say my spidey senses, but that's when I became more concerned saying, wait a minute, why would there still be a car here? That's actually a pretty decent looking car. And it's a fairly new car. And I was wondering why there'd be a car sitting there so many days later. Because if this car had been low on gas or having mechanical issues, you would assume that whoever left the car there and got a ride at some point would have come back for the car or had it towed closer to wherever they're at, their home or to a shop. And because because the car was still there, I went ahead and decided to go ahead and call the sheriff's department, the county, and just let them know of a suspicious vehicle parked in my driveway. It was later in the afternoon, so it was almost nighttime when the officer showed up. I did drive down and I met him. I made his acquaintance, let him know who I was. And then I told him my suspicions on the vehicle, how long it had been sitting there. And at that point, he told me that what he did was called in the license plate number to find the owner. And he says, we're unable to get a hold of the owner. Okay, so fine. I'm guessing that the license plate must show who it's registered to. They call that number and no one answered. So fine. And then I says, are you going to open the trunk? Are you going to dig through it? And I asked him that. And he said, no, because you have to have probable cause. You have to have a reason to go into someone's vehicle. He said, this is what I remember. He even told me that normally when a vehicle's parked on private property, which it was, he goes, they wouldn't do anything with it. That would be up to me to figure out what to do with it. He goes, but because it is on your, partially on your driveway, I will go ahead and call to have it towed. I'm okay with that. All I wanted was the vehicle off the driveway, and it wasn't bothering me, but it was parked on my driveway. So he did. He called. He had the tow truck come out, and or someone called. The tow truck came out, and before I left the property that night, I did video the tow truck picking up the vehicle and leaving with it. I thought we were done. I thought, okay. So in my mind, I'm like, whoever comes back looking for their car, eventually they will have to call Polk County and they will direct them to the tow truck company that has it. It will be impounded. And if they want it, they can go get it there. I was done. I think I put both those videos out. Everything went fine. Most of y'all said you did the right thing, Lester. It is what it is. So a couple of days later, there was another vehicle. It looked very similar to the first car, but it was up in my driveway, up closer to where we turn into the pasture there by our entrance. And when this guy saw me coming into the driveway, he came towards me and he wanted to know what happened to the car that was sitting there. And I says, it was towed. And he says, who towed it? And I says, I'm not sure. I says, I was here the night that it got towed. I says, I told him, I says, I called it in because it had been here for several days. I says, I was worried. I said, so I called it in. I says, Polk County came out and towed it. And then he said, were there any stickers on the vehicle? Any orange stickers on the windows? And I'm like, Bud, I says, I don't know. I says, I didn't pay attention. I did not pay attention. And so he said, okay. And he left. Well, when I got back to the house and I began to tell Jamie all of these things, at that point, Jamie reacts to things very differently than what I do. Jamie, she reacts very differently. And Jamie is more of a conspiracy theory. She's always trying to figure out what's going on with everything. She asks a lot of questions that I don't. All I wanted to do was feed my cows and go home. Yeah. I just wanted to feed my cows and go home. That's all I went there with to feed my animals, make a video, not to, but Jamie looks at the video that I had of the guy and she's like, wait a minute. And she starts asking all of these questions, y'all. Wow. Things that I had no idea about. Did you ask him this? Did you ask him? And I'm like, no, I didn't ask him any of those kind of things. I don't know. And then she made me feel quite, I guess, irresponsible in the fact that I did not interrogate the guy more. But like I told you, I'm more the kind of guy that like, hey, the less I share, the better. I'm just here to feed the animals. I'm not here to start any kind of drama. Of course, Jamie begins to question me, getting a lot of stuff out of me. Makes me feel like I didn't do enough. And then what if there was someone missing? What if there's a missing person? And what if that was the perpetrator. Oh my gosh, he got me to thinking. I've tried to. I don't know. I just came to feed animals, Jamie. I just came to feed the animal. I did not come to start all this investigative work. But she has went out on her own and got you all to thinking. And now I know all of those cogs in your head are all turning, and you're probably putting together all these bits and pieces of things that maybe you've experienced or things that you've seen on TV shows. And so I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Polk County Sheriff's Department has a record of me calling in that vehicle. They also have a record of me telling them my name and my address, the time of day. I'm certain that the dispatcher has all of that information if this particular guy or girl or whoever is looking needs it. They also know I'm guessing they know the information that the officer sent them or wrote down, because I'm sure there's a report. If he had the vehicle towed, I'm sure that he had to put a report on it. I don't know that for a fact. So I will say, if Polk County has any questions or any further questions, they're welcome to call me and I'll answer any questions. I even have a couple of video snippets that I can send them. But we don't know. We don't know. So for everyone who's here looking for questions to all the answers, I do not know what to tell you. I don't. So there has to be a report somewhere out there. I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on here today. This started yesterday, is going to continue today. I am trying to load up those little calves, the ones that we're calling Loretta and Patsy. So you all know that we were blessed in the fact that we found a fella who was willing to make us a trade for our beloved Santoro. Santoro was picked up, and these heifers and moms were dropped off. These calves and their moms were dropped off several days back. The moms need a whole lot of TLC. They're not in the best of shape. They're poor, y'all. They're very, very poor, malnourished. But I want to remind you that there's not many farms or farmers in Texas or ranchers who can boast and brag about the health of their cows right now. We went through 2 years of drought, and not everybody can afford to feed enough grains or alfalfa green hay to keep their cows in the best of shape until grasses come back. And so I don't want to judge. I'm not going to knock on anybody, because I mean, growing up with my dad never had money. We always had cows. So on those years where you had inclement weather enough to where it caused the grass not to grow, usually from drought, from extreme heat, we would watch the cows lose weight. We would watch the cows get down to where my dad at some point would panic and start selling. He would start selling, just trying to find ways to eliminate the number of mouths that were eating off the pastures. Now, we never raised Longhorns, so we're blessed that Longhorns have the ability to survive on other types of brush, and they can forage on things that other cows can't. But my dad knew that if it got bad and we began to see animals suffer, then we would absolutely start selling cows. And that's what every farmer and rancher does across these amazing, wonderful 50 states of ours. And I'm certain this is the same thing that goes on around the world. So that's what happens when farmers and ranchers face tough times. They end up taking a tremendous loss, but they have to get rid of the mouths that are eating off of their pastures to try to help those that can survive. All right. And so I'm sure that Mr. Jake did the exact same thing. It just so worked out that Mr. Jake had a double dilemma. We're going to say a double dilemma. Here we go. I like the way I did that. Double dilemma. What does that remind y'all of? What does this remind y'all of? This reminds me of whenever I go bowling and I find the same bowling balls that are of different weights, but my fingers fit them. I do this over here and see which one can I maneuver, which one can I bowl the best. Why? What are y'all thinking about? Juggling. Yes, that could be juggling. Molly D says juggling, and someone else says melons. I don't know where y'all a slinky, big jugs. No one says bowling balls. No one else says bowling balls except for me. Someone says it's too rude to put here. Yeah, we're going to talk. Denise, I'm getting there, okay? Let me stop all these comments. Y'all are so nasty. That's why we belong together. That's why we belong together, y'all. We belong together because we all think the same. Oh my goodness gracious. Now I done got the giggles. Look at this one lady say it. I gotta find that. That was cute. What in the world, Jennifer? What in the world? I am blushing. Okay, let me remove that comment so we can get serious again. What was I saying? What was I even saying? I have completely lost my train of thought now. Seriously, what was I saying? I don't even know what I was talking about. Our minds are always in the gutter, Lester. Don't worry, you're not alone. Thank you, Vicky. Moving calves. Yes, we're talking about moving calves. So Mr. Mr. Jake, his name was Jake. Mr. Jake and I worked out a deal. He has had the same bull for his 3 generations. And in case you guys don't know this, I want to share a piece of info with you that you probably have never heard about unless you grew up in a ranching community where a lot of the ranchers had bulls. And so most of the time you invest. So you don't get many bulls for free. Okay. Not if you want a good solid bull with a great bloodline, they're going to usually cost you some money. And so it's very likely that when you make that purchase and you get that bull, you're going to keep him for at least 3 generations. Now, let's not try to humanize it too much, everybody, but that means that the bull that you bring in will end up breeding the heifers or the cows that are there now. And then next year, whenever they produce, the following year, he'll end up breeding those heifers, and then they will produce. And 2 years later, he'll end up breeding those heifers. And so I'm just going to hold up the 3 fingers for 3 generations. And so for as many people who are appalled or disgusted by all of that, I get it. But that is kind of how it goes in nature and how it goes in farming and ranching. So you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. I'm not saying that we like it. But what I want to remind you of is let's just talk about nature. Mammals in nature. Let's talk about wild horses, wild stallions who live out there on the plains. And what they do is they just establish themselves as the high horse, and the alpha will end up breeding. And then he'll end up, as long as he can remain the alpha for as many years as he remains the alpha, he will continue to breed all of the mares that come into heat. And they don't necessarily look at who begat who and who begat who. They don't do all of those kind of things. A lion out in the tundra or the savannah, if they are the alpha, the lion king, they will also be the one to be able to breed. And they don't always calculate and pick, and choose who's allowed to. They don't have all of that. Okay. That's a human thing. At some point, once that lion gets up there in age, another younger lion will come up and beat him out of his position. And then that lion takes over for a certain number of years. That happens in nature all around us. Now, we've become more civilized and we try the best that we can to do things more, well, in a civilized manner. And so, what we have learned is that with certain bloodlines, you are okay to breed them multiple times through different generations. It's frowned upon by the general public. I get it. It's frowned upon by the general public because we sometimes tend to think about ourselves and how horrible would that be if we as humans were in those situations. Well, we're not, y'all. We're not. And so but what I'm saying is, it's time for Mr. Jake to move his bull along. He knew it was time to move his bull along. So what he did was wanted the new bull. So with Santoro, he found a new, young, very good bloodline of a bull. However, he also knew that he had to get rid of some cows because his pastures were not doing as well. So he was able to get rid of 4 mouths to feed and instead take a very highly pedigreed bull in exchange. And so we did that. So Kathy's saying, Lester, you should have went to his property first to look at it. So Kathy, what I'm going to tell you is something else that you may not know, but most of these ranchers and farmers who cannot afford to feed all of their cows, they will take care of their bulls. Sorry, I know that sounds horrible, but you must take care of those bulls. So Santoro, I don't know exactly the pastures he has to graze. I don't know I know nothing about the farm or the ranch that he's on, but I do know that the bull that I have seen that is going from Mr. Jake's property was he was an amazing looking bull. And so you just have to know that Santoro going in as the new breed bull will be treated right. He will be treated right, and any monies that Mr. Jake spends on his animals, he will absolutely make sure that his bull is well taken care of. So I get it that you're concerned about Santoro and his future, and you don't want him to end up being skinny. I get that, but y'all, you can look around, and if you open your eyes to look around, we could probably need to keep this close to home. We could probably we have enough fingers to point at people right here in around us to point fingers at of not feeding their animals enough. Not going to go pick on Mr. Jake, a man that lives 100 miles away. All right. We're not going to pick on Mr. Jake, who lives 100 miles away, when there's animals in our own vicinity that need to be looked at and scrutinized for not being fed proper or watered proper. So thank you for loving Santoro, but I can promise you that Santoro is living a really great life, and he has his own females now. And if you have a chance to look at Waylon and the life that Waylon's able to live now, pretty much Santoro's doing the exact same thing. Santoro's living the exact same life. And so lastly, I will say this, and then I'll move off of this subject, that if Mr. Jake was unable to bring in a bull, then he would have offered to sell his cows and his calves and not to work a trade deal out. So let's not worry a whole lot about Santoro. And then for the folks who are asking a lot of questions, like saying, can we see video? Can you send video? Guys, I'm just going to say this, and I think that you'd feel the same way. If I asked you, not everybody is into video. Not everybody is into pictures. Not everybody is into social media. And I can guarantee you this, there ain't many people who want to be torn apart by complete strangers. And so if Mr. Jake does end up watching an occasional video, or if he does send pictures, do you think Mr. Jake wants to sit there and read the hundreds, maybe thousands of comments that may talk negative about him? No, he's not. So instead, one thing you can do to avoid drama is avoid drama. Avoid the drama. Why do y'all think that I don't do a whole lot of things on Morrow Hill when it comes to the larger group? Huh? Because I've learned to avoid the drama. You can avoid a lot of drama. I can interact with every single member of my family and have amazing conversations, have good, deep, heartfelt conversations. I have worked and talked most of the Morrow Hill creators into making videos. I've given them direction on what to do and how to do it to give them the success that we have found in social media. And so I love my family. Boy, I love my family, and I'm so blessed to be a part of an amazing family. But I will avoid large gatherings at all cost because I know something that you don't know. I know a lot that you don't know. And what I know is that there is very rarely is there any large gathering where people don't leave with their feelings hurt. And so I want you to pause on the morrows, just pause on the morrows. Let's think about your own family for a minute. When you hang out with one family member, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your nephew, your niece, your child, you can probably admit that it's a very pleasant meeting. It was a very pleasant visit. But you also know that when you go to a large gathering, a family reunion, or some kind of a get together, how many of y'all can leave there with your feelings hurt and you leave there feeling lesser than you felt when you got there? You feel lesser. That's a word. I'm thinking that's a lesser. You don't feel funner and gooder. You feel lesser than when you arrived. And so if your hand is raising and all of that, I think you absolutely understand why there are reasons why I avoid large family gatherings. However, I can swing by any household right now, and every one of my siblings and my nephews and my nieces will allow me in to hang around the kids, to play, to make a video, and that's the way I prefer it. And I will say one last thing. I was given that advice from a counselor. So for anyone else who thinks you're going to out-psych me on this one over here, I took that advice and I live by that advice, and it has made me the better. So I don't avoid my family. I avoid family gatherings. So someone says, but wait, you have gatherings at Longhorn Lester's. Well, yes, I do. So what I can also do whenever I control the gathering is I control everything about it. I have a control in the time that we arrive, the discussions. I have the activities set up and the games so that you don't have the same downtime when things can get talked about and things get mentioned and things get, Guys, it's not always pleasant. We have a beautiful and loving family who care for each other, but there's a lot of feelings hurt after every family event. And I'm not going to go into details because that's sorry, I love you, but it's not really your business. Just know that there's a reason why Lester avoids large family gatherings. And I do not miss the drama. If it's one thing that I've learned in my older years, and I'm calling these years the older years, is that you can be a lot happier if you can find ways to avoid the drama. I absolutely encourage both of my sons to still attend events with the family, but even they, especially Ellie knows in a heartbeat when it gets time to where dinner's over and everyone starts having those quiet corner type discussions. That's when you might want to make your way on out, because that's when things start getting said or talked about that are not productive but it's just typical family gossip, family talk. But it can also lead to getting feelings hurt, because pretty much anything that is said inside the family, it never stays there. It never stays there. So, anywho, all right. Well, I have rambled on for an entire hour. An hour of talking about things. So I was trying to move some calves over to Longhorn Lester. No, I was trying to move some calves away from Longhorn Lester's yesterday, but I ended up having a small issue. Let's come out of there. So as you can see right over here, I have a calf in both of my small stalls. I was able to get both Patsy, who's the all white one, and Loretta, who's the brown and white one, into their separate stalls. But my problem is, whenever I built this barn and I arranged it to where I could make it into a loading chute, I built it for larger cows, never for calves. And so watch what happens here right away. Dolly doesn't seem to be bothered at all. Dolly, Christmas, make it a serious Longhorn Lester video, sweetie. Oh no, oh no. And that is exactly why I come out to do some. So as you can see right there, all right, that's Loretta. Little Loretta, she jumped right through. I had her all pinned up and she jumped right out. And so that was not good. Well, it gets worse. Work in my loading system. Okay, well, that's not cool. And there goes our calf. Christmas, sheesh. All right, so I do have one calf still pinned in a stall, and I think that we'll be okay with that one there. This one over here has gotten spooked though, and that's kind of a problem. Whenever they get spooked, that could leave them in kind of a weird place for the rest of the day. And I may have to go ahead and wait till tomorrow to do this. I'm gonna try to draw them back inside. But you can see that Mom's trying to push her away, saying, you know what, this is not safe for us, Loretta, and we're just going to walk away. And sure enough, Mom has Loretta walking the other direction, even though there's food still here in the barn. So that was my mess up. What I should have done is come out and did all of my work first and got all of my panels put into place, knowing that calves are going to, look at here, this is going to be bad. Yeah, my barn was not set up to move calves. It was moved to move cows. And we've done, there we go. We've done really good with our calves. Tex, let her through. There you go, there you have it. Yeah, so I made a big mistake. I tried to move the calves before I got my barn all ready for them. So I did go back out later and I got everything set up. I got all the panels into place. And so now I can move calves. But the problem is now the calves, or at least Loretta, knows something's going on. Loretta is like, wait a minute, he's up to something. A very smart calf, y'all. Very, very smart. If you don't remember this, Gracie had a rounder face than any other calf we've ever had born. And Loretta has that exact same face. So I told Jamie, I said, I've never seen a cow with such a round face. And then she found Gracie's picture when Gracie was born. And I'm like, oh, so I guess they can be born more round faced. Talking about what we were saying a little while ago, Vanessa says, I get sensory overload sometimes. I'm not sure if anyone else can relate. Whew. Well, sensory overload at a Morrow family event is an absolute thing that can happen. And then, of course, I was reading other things where people don't like being overlooked. So overload and then overlooked. Sometimes you feel like you don't really have a voice when certain members of the family show up. You lose your voice, not physically, but you lose your ability to talk to people. You lose a chance to communicate. You lose a chance to share your opinion. And if you've never experienced any of those things, then I'm just going to, once again, go on a limb and say that it might be because you take over. You're one to take over conversation and not allow everyone to be heard. And so that is a very depleting and demeaning thing that happens at a lot of family gatherings. So I'm not knocking any family gathering. I hope by absolutely you all can enjoy your family gatherings. But for me, I have learned if I want to avoid the drama, if I want to avoid being included in conversations or being talked about in conversations, if I can avoid having to be anywhere in weird and uncomfy situations, I'll just visit with my family on my own time. And I do that on a very regular basis. There's no rift, there's no drama that exists between me and any of my family members. I would say that of me and my dad might be the only two that kind of share or we disagree on, I would say, farm practices. My dad comes from an old school generation, and I come from a sanctuary, forever home kind of a mindset. And so I would say any of the, but that's never been cause for me not to spend time with my mom and my dad. But yeah, to each his own. Well, listen, I am going to continue working with Loretta and Patsy. They do need to go over to the other property and go ahead and be introduced to the larger herd. And what a beautiful herd it is. My God, guys, my dream is coming to fruition faster than what I thought it was going to. Watching these Longhorns run up, and walking across the pastures and their heads to the ground, taking occasional naps in the shade. It's just so darn beautiful over there, and watching them finally be able to fill their bellies where they're not hungry. I love that so much. And I want to thank you all for that, because it absolutely was you who made all of that possible. And so let me go and try to wrap this entire thing up. And then, you know what? I'll answer some questions, but give me a minute first. Thank you. I want to say thank you. This will be the very last Lunch with Longhorn Lester of this year. And hopefully by next week, we can talk about how the new videos are going, kind of gauge you on what you think, how they're going. And we will absolutely make it to where I'm a Survivor is going to be a drama-free, y'all. There's no reason to ever argue and fight over people that are doing their best. And I say doing their best. We're not going to be perfect, but we're going to do our best for each and every one of those 35, 45 surviving animals, those rescues who've already overcome some pretty tough things in life. And it will be a community of survivors, of those you and I, folks who've overcome things in our life. We will use animals to kind of tie us all together, but it will be an open platform where anybody can share your stories. And we're going to hope that the comments can be flooded with people who appreciate people sharing by letting them know that they read their story, they hear them, they're going to pray for them. And if you share similar stories and similar situations, we are looking forward to a beautiful 2023 year. And we really are going to focus on bringing back the roots of what made us who we are, because there's something very special, y'all. I'm going to tell you something. There's not a larger community in rescue and sanctuary than what we have with the 2 million folks that follow the channels. I'm a Survivor Sanctuary on Facebook and YouTube. There's not a larger community of people out there who all come together as survivors. And so there's something special in that. And so shame on me for not always keeping that at the center of attention, and by allowing my personal ideas of a second channel and my personal goals to get in the way of that. But I'm going to return to my roots, get back to where it all started, and we're going to make I'm a Survivor something we can all be proud of, a channel we're going to love to go watch and spend time there, animals that we can relate to. And like I say, we've lost a few along the way. Those stories will be told as well for those who missed them. And we're going to also try to find a way to bring and continue to bring new babies in who need some good, tender, loving care, a place to call home, a place surrounded by others who understand their situations, a beautiful community of people like you all who who are inspired by not only other people who've overcome difficult situations in life, but animals who've overcome, and can also inspire and push you along to get past what you're dealing with. So I think that I've talked enough. I think that I've rambled on enough. So thank you all. I will answer any questions now. Jennifer says, I love these Texas goodbyes. Karma says, Lester, let me know if you got my package. Karma, I don't know. I'm thinking that we get every package. I'm just going to go ahead and say this about packages. I think that we get every package, but Karen Lawrence. Karen, where did it go? Karen just asked for my hand in marriage. Karen Lawrence, will you marry me? Now, I wonder if she was asking me or somebody else. You think Karen was asking that to me or to somebody else? Karen, I'm already in a relationship. I'm very happy and thank you. But if that was for me, well, thank you, Karen. I've never, ever been asked would I marry anybody, but I doubt that was for me even, but that was sweet. But Karen, I know she's kidding. She's lovely. So listen, what I was going to say is that if you're sending stuff to Longhorn Lester's, that's a mistake because we're not putting those things in the stack to be opened. We've asked politely and respectfully that you do not send things to Longhorn Lester's. There's not a place here to receive those things. And so our mail lady is overworked. We talked about this already. She's having to toss packages over our fence, which is not good for fragile packages. It's making it to where when we get down to our gate, we can't even open our gate because of the packages laying on this side of the fence, on this side of the gate. It's just so we're asking you not to do that. Packages go to I'm a Survivor. And there are people like Ben, like Ellie, who work over there, that's one of their jobs is to bring up the packages and sort them out, deliver those that go to Pawpaw, those that go to Gigi, those that come back to me and Jamie. And from there, when we go there 3 or 4 times a week, that's when we'll bring back all of those packages. So, Deb says, can we have a community page that we can have a section for all of the shared stories, including the animals? So that is going to happen, Deb. It's going to be called I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. It is going to be a community page that you will have a section, not just a section, it will be an entire channel dedicated to all of the stories. Wait, do you mean stories that other people can share? Of like their animals? I'm not sure if exactly what you're asking, but my worry about that, Deb, is that would be a place where someone's going to infiltrate and begin to mess around with you all, trying to find ways to draw money out of you. So we are trying to avoid any situation like that. I can police one channel. Me and the moderator are working together, and we're able to police one channel pretty good. And I think that we're doing a pretty good job at that. But so will Santoro be branded? No. Where did that go? Santoro will not be branded. The only one who could have branded him would have been me, because I'm the owner of his mom and father. He was sired and born here under my cows. So the only brand he could ever wear would be the Longhorn Lester brand or the I'm a Survivor Sanctuary, the rocking M, the M. And we chose not to brand him. I told that to Mr. Jake. Mr. Jake received his paperwork. So he's a registered bull, but he will not be branded. And So no, you don't have to worry about him being branded. We're going to try not to brand our cows. Diana, thank you for that question. I know a lot of people have talked about it, and it's been a hot topic of concern, but we're going to try just to make sure they're fenced in with fences strong enough to where they never get a chance to break out. And so, all right. Is it a little spoon on your hat? It's a spoon pin. Yes, it was gifted to me, and then I just wear it. Just whatever. Will there be future dog rescues? Rita, we will play it by ear. What Jamie and I started last year was to try to get one rescue a month. We found out real fast that nobody wants to help rehome. Everyone loves the rescue videos, but we don't do it for video purposes. We rescue to bring in the animal, get them off the streets. But at some point we can't house them all. At some point it gets to be where it's dangerous for our other animals. You bring in some animals and they get along great with the group, and then other animals do not get along so great. And then you have to try to find a way to rehome those animals. But people, by and large, are not as open to adopting animals unless they're puppies. And that the puppies went very easily, but every other larger animal, we had a tough time. So we will just do that as we need to. I'm going to say animals that show up at I'm a Survivor that we trap in our box traps. We will bring them back over here and see if we can get their vet care done and get them rescued out. But besides that, I don't foresee a whole lot of dog rescues. Because not everybody can be as good as those three right there. I'm looking for more questions, and I really will let you go. So Sharon says, why would you ever brand them unless you're selling them? So Sharon, that's a great question. So going back traditionally, the reason that farmers would brand their cattle is because of cattle rustlers. Back in the old days, before there was fencing, cattle just kind of run free. And most of the times your cattle would remain with their herd bull. That was their group. But on occasion, in passing along through creeks or if a cow had to stop and have a calf, at some point they could get separated from the herd. And so when it came time to round up and move your cows along, either for breeding or for selling, sometimes you did not know whose were who. You also had people who would rustle cattle, go out there and steal cows. And so what they began to do was brand cows to identify whose belongs to who. Where that couldn't happen. And so they stopped doing that for a while. They began to try to do other things like they would pin their ears, but pins in the ears would sometimes, they will weather and rot and dry rot and fall out. They don't last forever. So the only true way to identify a cow for the length of that cow's life is to put that brand. They can do branding two ways. Some use heat and some do use cold heat. I would think that they're both fairly, I don't want to say painful, even though I can't imagine how it couldn't hurt. You are branding into their very thick leather, and all you're putting is a mark. You're not burning through the hide. But I still think it would be similar to putting a brand on us, a human, even though our skin is not near as thick. I just don't think it would be a pleasant feeling. But I think my biggest fear of not branding is if for some reason we have our animals get out. Let's say they get out. That would be horrible. But if they ended up getting out and they get mixed up with someone else's cows, how could I go by? And number one, how could someone find me and let me know that they're my cows mixed in? Because a brand is registered to the owner, and without having a brand, that cow's kind of like just I'm just a cow. I can belong to anybody, but I don't have plans to brand any of our cows. I'm going to allow them to just be very, very protected by double and triple fencing and see if we can keep them all safe that way. Tattooed. Can they be tattooed? I don't know if anyone would tattoo them. The problem with a tattoo, it has to be a small tattoo. And then if the cow is not super gentle, how would you walk up and identify that tattoo? That's like a microchip. If the microchip would work out great, it might last a lifetime. But in case the cow's not gentle enough, how does just any random farmer or deputy sheriff walk up and microchip or scan the cow for a tattoo? That brand is big. It's going to, singe on there, and it's going to be a lifelong thing. Guys, I'm just going to say about branding, I think that if it was as inhumane as what a lot of people think it would probably be outlawed. I don't think that they would allow something that was literally causing great harm and suffering to our cows. And this has been going on forever. So I don't know for a fact. I don't want to take either side on that. All I'm telling you is objectively, yes, I can see the need to brand, but I can also try as hard as I can to find ways to guarantee that my cows never get out. And so they will not have to go through any of that. So we can just avoid all of that drama. That's kind of like a lot of folks talk about when they want to dock the tail on certain breeds of dogs. You want to dock the tail on certain breeds of dogs because that's just kind of the traditional look of your boxers, of your bulldogs. Different dogs have their tails docked. So I think that there's ways that vets can do it where it's not as painful. But I can't say there's no pain. I don't know, y'all. I'm not in a position to speak on that. I don't know. So Debbie's asking something we've already talked about, the tags, no tails or ears. Debbie asked about getting tags in her ears, and that's fine, but tags do come out. Tags do not last a lifetime. Tattoos would take a very long time, and think about how big a tattoo would have to be visible. Well, friends, I don't really see a whole lot of questions coming in. You're asking about Tilly. Tilly's doing wonderful. She's right out the door here right now. She's not nesting. So if she is pregnant, and we know that she is, I'm going to go ahead and say that she had to have been impregnated by the little fainting goat, Gus Gus. Many of y'all saw the videos where that actually happened. And so there. All right. Well, last question that I will answer, and it's the last one that has just come through here, and it says, will little Gary ever join the herd? So you guys do know that little Gary is not a Longhorn. So for the sweet lady who says you now have 17 Longhorns, we only have 16. We have 17 total cows, but there's only 16 Longhorns. Those 16 Longhorns are Tex and Waylon, our 2 Longhorn bulls. Then we have our 4 new girls, which are Loretta and Patsy, Dolly and Reba. Then we have, oh boy, here we go, our 10 other cows. Let's start from the babies: Danny, Ruby, Trinity, Charlene. We have Santana, Pearl, Marilyn, Jezebel, Jolene, and Gracie. Did I say Gracie? So there's 16 Longhorns, and then there's 1 Gary. Gary is a shorthorn. Gary will have to be neutered, and then we'll have to give him time to allow his body to learn that he's not a bull. He's no longer a bull. And then we will I don't know exactly how we're going to work Gary in, but we will figure that out. You know, if Gary does not stay with our Longhorns, Gary can go to I'm a Survivor and be another Survivor bull. And here's why I say that: not bull, but a steer. Think about this over here for a minute. Whenever we eventually move the horses, there has to be something in that back pasture. You need something in that back pasture. And so, will we possibly bring in another animal or so for Gary to hang out with, to give Gary companionship? Possibly. But Trinity's only a half breed. Karen, we don't know for a fact anything about Trinity. What I've learned, and I don't mean this in a mean way, is that I feel like all of the discussions and dialogue with the former owners, I've caught them in a lot of things that doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know. We don't know. But Trinity is, in fact, guaranteed. Her mom is a Longhorn. There's no doubt about that. We've seen the papers on her. But Trinity herself, who her father was, we heard that she was bred by a mini Longhorn, or at least it was possible. So, yeah, that's still Longhorn, but we're going to just wait and see what comes out with her. But listen to me. I think you must be mistaken on a couple of things. I am not at the place now where I'm ready to start raising cows for sale. The only ones we will sell or trade will be our bulls. We're still going to have a goal of working up to about 20 to 25 head of females. And that's when it's going to get real serious around here. Y'all, once we get to our 25, that's when things are going to get real, real serious. All right. Okay. Well, listen, I think I've kept you for a very long time. And then I will say that I'm looking forward to the new year. I hope that you are. If there's things in your life that you want to weed out and kind of like consolidate and start the new year off right, now's the time to do that. Start getting those plans ready now. That's what Jamie and I have been doing. And we're going to encourage you guys to be so kind and sweet and supportive. And remember that when you go to I'm a Survivor Sanctuary, and we encourage you to please go there, make sure to make friends with each other, become a community strong. You're going to be as strong as your community. And I want to apologize again for not always keeping that in my mind. I've allowed my own selfish motives drive me to pushing things to the Longhorn Lester channel, and we've met some amazing goals with that channel, but we really do have to remember to get back to our roots, because if we want to continue to stay I'm a Survivor strong with, I'm going to say this, it's the best community you'll ever belong to, then I think we have to do it the right way. And so it starts with me, y'all. It will start with me. And I will promise you that I will focus my energy and my attention on those beautiful rescues, for as many as there are. I think there's darn near 40 guys, or 45 rescues if we count the surrenders. And we got a lot of stories to tell, and they will continue to tell stories. Those that are here with us now, and then those that have already passed can still teach lessons and tell stories. But we have to do our part and bring that page back to life. So thank you all for watching today. Thank you for loving me and understanding, and just for all that you've done with spending the amount of time, for the laughter, the tears. And we do wish you a wonderful, happy new year. Oh, there's more videos to come. Don't worry. But let's all focus on the I'm a Survivor Sanctuary with the new year and get that page off to a great start. Let's welcome those new members and share, y'all. Share your stories. Let people know that they're not alone in what they're struggling with. There's nothing better about a supportive group than the fact that you can find out that you're not alone. I've always said this, but some of the most therapeutic things that could happen to me after Hurricane Harvey were my trips to the Home Depot. And I would roll up to Home Depot to get the next supply of materials, to find the parking lot was just filled to capacity of other people who were also having to rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives. And as sad as it was, watching just the faces that were just depleted and hollow, I could also say, wow, So it's not just me. Whew, woo, woo. It's not just me. And that's the same thing for people that are suffering through different ailments like cancer or any type of medical issue, those that are going through a divorce, those that are having to go through the loss of a loved one, those that are struggling financially, those that are trying to recover from a situation of neglect or abuse or abandonment. Y'all, we're here for each other. And there's not a one of us here, y'all. And I said this so many times before. It's our motto. We are all survivors of something. And if you don't say it in the past tense, then you know that we're all surviving something right now. We're all making our way through something right now. And where life finds you at any given moment, you could be here, or somewhere in the middle. You could be on your way up, or you could find yourself on the way down. But there's people who are right there with you. And so make those friendships, make those connections, be empathetic to other people going through tough times. And let's work together to make this channel the best, as strong as it ever was. So thank you all for watching. We love you so darn much. And Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Okay. And with that being said, I will go ahead and log out now. Thank y'all for watching. And we love you.